Hi, friends, and welcome back to Charm and Circumstance. I'm Ashley Morgan from Ashley Morgan Interiors. And today we're going to talk about something that I know many of you are thinking about, whether it is while you're at work or at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep. And that is renovating your house. So we're going to get into the real stuff today. The most common renovation mistakes and how to avoid them, how to actually budget without losing your mind, and the big question, should you renovate or should you just move? So grab your coffee or your wine or whatever else you're drinking these days, and let's get into it. From floor plans to finishing touches, function to the feeling you get walking into a room. I'm Ashley Morgan, an interior designer with a love for beautiful living and a belief that great design should tell your story. I've spent over 20 years in the industry, and now I'm pulling back the curtain on interiors, sharing insight, inspiration, and the strategy behind well-designed spaces. Expect smart design talk, refined tips, and just the right mix of polish and personality. So pour something sweet and join me for a thoughtful conversation with a generous helping of charm and circumstance. All right, let's start with mistakes, because honestly, this is where the biggest headaches lie. This is where the most money and a lot of stress occur. So first up, underestimating the scope. This is probably the biggest one. People think, oh, we're just redoing the kitchen, and suddenly it turns into electrical updates and plumbing surprises and flooring throughout the whole house. It snowballs fast. Everything is so connected. If you open up a wall, you're committing to whatever's behind it. And spoiler alert, it's rarely simple. Mistake number 2, not planning ahead. Starting a renovation without having all your selections made is a recipe for delays. I'm talking cabinets, fixtures, tile, hardware. Because if you're picking these things on the fly, you will hit back orders. And that starts decision fatigue and budget creep. Mistake number 3, prioritizing aesthetics over function. This one hurts a little, but it's true. We all have seen, that one thing that we think, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I don't care if it's not the most comfortable or it's not the easiest to use, things like that. And so, yeah, like when it's still in your mind, it's easy to think that way. But after something's been installed and now you really are married to it, you start to regret your decisions. We all want the Pinterest kitchen, but if it doesn't function for your actual life, you will regret it. So you have to think about storage needs and the traffic flow throughout the space, how you actually live in your home. Pretty is great, but livable is better. Mistake number 4, hiring the wrong team. Not all contractors or designers are created equal. You want clear communication, transparent pricing, a track record of finished projects, and if it feels off early on, trust your instinct. So now let's talk about budgeting for a renovation. Deep breath, because budgeting for a renovation is not always straightforward. So rule number 1 here, your budget is not your budget. I know, but it's true. If your number is $100,000, your real working budget should be closer to $80,000 to $85,000. Why, you ask? Because you need a contingency fund. And I recommend at least 15 to 20%. Something will come up. It always does. Rule number 2, Know where to splurge versus save. Not everything needs to be top tier. Splurge on the things that you touch daily: cabinet hardware, faucets, structural or permanent elements like flooring and cabinetry. Save on the decorative items, trend driven pieces. Rule number 3, get real quotes early. Don't rely on Pinterest estimates or Google averages or, for crying out loud, AI. Talk to actual contractors because AI is not building your home. You have got to talk to real people. So you want to talk to contractors, designers, and vendors that you are using. Real numbers will ground your expectations fast. Rule number 4, time equals money. Delays cost money. If decisions drag out or materials are late, you're paying in labor, storage, temporary living situations. Being decisive actually saves you money. And in working with contractors or designers, you will often see in our contracts that after a certain number of days or time period has lapsed, we are not responsible for guaranteeing the originally quoted price. And that's because vendors change their pricing and institute price updates, tariffs, surcharges, all the things constantly throughout the year. So there's not always a window of time that we have to react to it either. And so you want to nail down those material costs quickly. Okay, so should you move or should you remodel? This is the big question, and it's so personal, but I'll walk you through what I think about it. You should consider renovating if you love your location. Your home has good bones. The changes that you want are mostly cosmetic or moderately structural. Also, emotion matters here. If this house feels like home, that's worth something. And then it might be time to move if the layout fundamentally does not work. And no matter what changes are made, it's still not the ideal. It's probably better to move if the cost to renovate approaches or exceeds buying something better. Because at some point, you're trying to force a house to be something that it's just not. So here's the honest truth. Renovating is stressful. It is very stressful. I watch it. I feel terrible watching my clients go through it. And towards the end, they are just chomping at the bit to get everything completed and wrapped up. And when they do, I think they would say it's well worth the wait, but it's hard. Moving is stressful. That's a lot of work as well. There's no easy option, just the one that makes the most sense for you and your family, for your lifestyle, for your finances, and for your long-term goals. So if you take anything from this episode, let it be this: plan more than you think you need to, budget more than you want to, and make decisions based on how you live, not just how something looks. Because a beautiful home is great, but a home that works for you, that's everything. I'll see you in the next episode, friends. Thanks for joining me on Charm and Circumstance. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along on Instagram, because charm is personal and circumstance is what you make of it.